Hey y'all, it's Antimogul. I'm back again and I just been chilling. I'm happy to just be at home now in this little virtual space. It just feels very peaceful. I love to just sit by the digital waters and just chill and just think about different things, whether it's life, work, my passions, family, friends, and even what I want to do. Lately I just been thinking about what type of person I want to be when I enter my 30s. And I'm closer than I've ever been. I'm 28 to be exact, but I'm just not nervous, but I just want to be in such a better place. I want to finally get into my career. I want to finally, be able to maybe even purchase a home. And those things matter to me. Of course, the relationship, I would like to, find a nice guy to really settle down with and maybe create something, but I'm really not trying to chase behind these dudes at this point. And it's not because I'm just like anti, relationship. It's just more like I really want to get into my passion. I really want to stack this bread. I really want to take it to another level like that with that stuff. And I'm not really concerned with finding a quote unquote loved one at this point or even within my 30s. I'm like maybe in my mid 30s, but I've noticed a lot of people even younger than me, of course, straighter than me, that I feel like that's the thing, not always, but I just see so many people with relationships as their orbit. And that's okay. Everybody has their orbit. I guess my orbit is art, or my orbit is trying to get into my passion of being a concept artist, or just trying to be even in this digital world and just trying to create something new. But I guess, everybody just has their orbit. But I've really just been thinking deeply about the difference between virtual worlds and the physical world. And it made me think about the idea of VR being not like an escape, but just another space. And it made me think about the idea of VR being beyond a game, beyond networking, beyond just chilling and watching movies or just hanging out and stuff. But is VR the new outside? And so when I think about like outside, you think, you smell the flowers when go out on a sunny day. You see the trees, you hear the birds chirping, you see kids running around, if they still are running around these days, because a lot of kids just be on their phones and just inside. But I've still been seeing kids play sports and hang out. So that's not a lost art. But we all know what outside is, because we gotta go outside, whether it's to work, go to school, get the A and B, whatever. But I think VR is outside. It isn't just like, oh, let's just go in here and just chill out. This is a place, if not the place, of maybe the ultimate connection that you need to make, or the love of your life that you haven't found. I don't really know, but I do think VR is the new outside. And it's really interesting because I feel like during COVID, the idea of quote unquote outside became a thing. And it was meaning to it was in reference to returning to the norm that really never came back. It's been different since COVID. And yeah, we've been outside, but we've also been still inside in many different ways. I don't know if we're collectively still traumatized by the COVID era, or we just still are holding on to certain different aspects. But I do think virtual reality has opened up a portal to something that we haven't seen before in human history. And it's a portal that leads you to anyone at any time at this point. You can meet people from America to Japan, from Japan to France to Africa, or, Nigeria, South Africa, Egypt. You never know whoever you're meeting. I think that that's really profound, that you can really have a conversation with anyone around the world, and you don't even have to really pay for it. I mean, technically you got to pay for it if you got the headset, but if you already got the headset, that means you already paid for it. But that's capitalism. You got to pay for something, right? But at least through VR chat, for example, and other applications, VR chat isn't the only one. You can talk to anyone around the world. And I think that's really cool. And I think, it can kind of be used to break down barriers and a lot of different layers of propaganda that we've been fed against each other, whether it's as Americans versus Russians, or Americans versus Chinese. And I don't mean versus in a literal sense, but just however we think of each other. And I feel like we can really have great discussions. And that's why I feel like VR is outside now. You might think just putting on your headset, you're just chilling out, hanging out with your friends, and you're being reclusive in your room or on the plane, but you're really connecting with real people and you're having a real moment. How is that not outside? How is that not chilling? If you're eating and watching a movie, in a movie world in VR chat or some other application, and you're really eating, you're enjoying that moment. So that's outside energy. And I feel like VR has always been trying to mimic that physical world in a way. And I'm just excited to be here and be a voice to really speak on it, because I think we should really analyze the moment that we're in. And I'm not here, like I said, this is not a place to lecture or be like, oh, I know this, I know that. These are just like my thoughts, and I'm open to more opinions and more discussion on it. And if you believe VR is the new outside, let me know. And let me know what you think about that idea. We only grow when we're all communicating with each other. And I think it's really a great conversation to have. When we talk about VR being the new outside, what does that really mean? Are we really saying oh, you can hang out, you can do all this, you can do A, B, and C? You can really network in here. You can really build a business in here. And who knows? Well, no, it ain't who knows. You could really make a living off of being within here. And if that ain't the definition of being outside, I don't know what is. That's definitely an aspect of outside energy. We could probably see VR being part of the, national infrastructure of our culture. It gives people a chance to just really be in a space and even, can even show themselves or express themselves in a way that you couldn't do in the human form. And I think that's really great, and it's liberating. Because sometimes I think we get so caught up in the body, the aesthetic, we forget that we're humans, obviously, but we're beings. It's something within us. It's something conscious. It's something really within us that's beyond the human body. Whatever it is, having a discussion with each other, networking with each other, talking with each other, you know? So I just want to hold space for that. But I'm really excited to have more discussions. And this is just what this project / page is about. In a world where it's like, I've been reading headlines that say, oh, it's the end of reading. We need to be a society, and we need to be people that keeps promoting critical thought, whether it's boring or not. We need to keep having these discussions. We need to keep thinking deeply and really talking about the world that we live in. And now VR is so much a part of the world that we live in. We need to really analyze this. We need to really ask ourselves, what is this? You know, because this is like the new frontier. But whatever you think, just let me know. And if you want to drop a comment, go ahead and let's have a discussion. And let me know, do you believe VR is the new outside? Again, it's Antimogul. Thank you and have a good afternoon, morning, night. Because I don't know where you're at. I really don't. But I'm going to see y'all again.